Part 11. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 101. We've dug out the whole room. You can directly enter the secret room from each room and see what's going on inside. Lin Yi nodded, and Huang Yiming came to the row of rooms on the left side of the dance floor. As Lin Yi and Huang Yiming left, strange changes occurred in the basement. A shadow wearing a mandarin gown appeared here. It was an old man who looked to be in his 50s, with a gloomy face and a pale complexion. The pupils were pitch black, and the 2 dots of blood red were very frightening against the black whites of the eyes. There was a weird smile on his lips, ferocious and terrifying. Black smoke was floating all over his body, making him look looming. It stood in front of the platform where the corpses were dismembered, looking at the thick resentment and the flashing faces in it. He slowly stretched out his hand, and his hand underwent strange changes the moment he stretched it out. The human-like palm became strange and dark, covered with dense black holes. If you look closely, these holes look like tiny vortices, pointing towards the platform. Countless grievances rolled crazily and were then sucked in from these small holes. When all the resentment on the platform was absorbed, the figure quickly became illusory. Finally disappeared here, as if it had never appeared. Lin Yi stood in the secret room of the first room, frowning slightly. His eyes were filled with green light, and he saw that the resentment in the air suddenly weakened a little. What's going on? Lin Yi would not let go of any clues about something like this happening in such a weird place. You can tell at a glance that this secret room is an execution chamber. A rectangular room no more than 1 meter wide and 5 meters long. The walls are covered with a special soundproofing material, and a rusty steel seat sits in the center of the room. There is also a long steel table placed in the passage, with various torture instruments on it. Almost all the torture instruments had black dry marks, which were obviously the remains of coagulated blood. And this is not the most important thing, what makes Lin Yi feel strange. There is also a bound and locked skeleton on this seat. Green eyes swept across the secret room. Resentment was permeated here, especially on the seat. The resentment was extremely strong, and a face was looming in the resentment. He ignored the seat and looked behind the seat, where there was a steel ladder that could be climbed to the wall. Huang Yiming said, "This wall only reaches the ceiling, and the ceiling is an empty space. The mezzanine, which is about 1 meter high, can lead to the secret room of the second room." Lin Yi nodded when he heard this, turned around and was about to enter the secret room of the second room from the corridor to explore. But suddenly he stopped, turned around and walked towards the steel ladder. He passed sideways through the torture instrument chair in the secret room, came to the steel ladder, and climbed up in a few steps. The true meaning of fate flashed in his eyes, scanning the area on the mezzanine of the ceiling, and he frowned. Huang Yiming's eyes lit up when he saw Lin Yi frowning. "Mr. Lin, what did you find?" Lin Yi climbed down from the steel ladder and fell into deep thought. He did not answer Huang Yiming's question. A few minutes later, Lin Yuda said, "Let's go to the next secret room and take a look." Then, Lin Yi and Huang Yiming quickly began to check the second, third, and other secret rooms. Every time, Lin Yi would climb the steel ladder and look at the ceiling. Huang Yiming had a hunch that there might be something wrong with the ceiling compartment, otherwise Lin Yi wouldn't keep checking it. But he also climbed up to take a look, but saw nothing. Therefore, he could only wait for Lin Yi to check them one by one, with a look of curiosity on his face. Time passed by and soon they had finished checking the third floor. Lin Yi stood at the stairs on the third floor, frowning, as if thinking about something. At this time, no one noticed that the strange figure in a mandarin jacket kept appearing in the secret rooms. It sucked away the countless grievances, and at the same time, a thin thread of grievances has been silently entangled in the hair on the back of Huang Yiming and Lin Yi's heads. This resentment is very subtle, even only as long as a thumb, perfectly hidden in the hair. Even Lin Yi didn't notice anything unusual at all. Lin Yi turned to look at Huang Yiming at this time. I saw something on the ceiling mezzanine of every floor. Huang Yiming looked at Lin Yi with solemn eyes. Mr. Lin discovered something. There are some patterns on every ceiling. Lin Yi frowned. Huang Yiming was stunned. The pattern is wrong. We have carefully checked those ceilings. It is no different from an ordinary ceiling. There is no pattern. There was deep doubt in his eyes, and he had no idea what was going on. Those patterns are not directly outlined on the ceiling. Are they formed by resentment? Resentment? What is that? Huang Yiming had doubts in his eyes. Lin Yi smiled and said, grudge is the name I gave you, to put it in simpler terms. It is the resentment, anger, fear, and all the negative emotions left in the spirit of the dead person after death. This is something that requires special means to see. Some characters who have entered the immortal realm can use certain methods to see them. When Huang Yiming heard this, he immediately realized, you are talking about resentment. That's an academic term. There is a department within the Men in Black that specializes in studying ghosts. These things were called ghosts in ancient times, but now with the development of science, many things can be explained. According to our research, when people die under extreme emotions, there is a probability that they will be haunted by this kind of resentment. Resentment is the residual emotion of the deceased spirit, combined with the energy that permeates the world. Most of them are very negative energy, because negative energy and spirit have a strong compatibility. Therefore, these black auras are called resentment. And when the resentment is strong to an extreme, it will produce resentful spirits with some memories, emotions, and even abilities of the previous life. Resentful spirits are very unstable at the spiritual level and can easily generate hatred for the living. Most of the evil ghosts and demons in ancient legends refer to this kind of thing. Huang Yiming said and gave Lin Yi some scientific information about the black-clothed man's research on resentful spirits. Lin Yi was also very surprised to hear this and got unexpected information. I see. Whether it's resentment or hatred, the situation is very special now. They form some strange patterns and are attached to the ceiling of the mansion. I feel like there might be something wrong here, but I'm not an expert in this area. You need to find someone who specializes in studying these things. Huang Yiming's eyes were stern. When he heard that there were such things on the ceiling of every secret room, he was a little nervous. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 102. When Huang Yiming heard that the mysterious pattern was made up of resentment, his scalp suddenly tingled. Mr. Lin, I'm afraid I need you to draw these patterns, so that I can send them back to the Special Investigation Department to analyze these patterns and information and find out what it is. Lin Yi nodded, of course no problem, but I need you to bring some paper, pens, tables, and chairs. I need to observe and copy a little bit before I can draw it. After all, those patterns are not simple. Huang Yiming nodded, no problem, Mr. Lin, please wait a few minutes, I will go to the headquarters to get them. Lin Yi stood alone in front of Lan Kuai-fong, waiting for Huang Yiming to return. In the Rose Bar, Mrs. Rose watched Huang Yiming walk out of Lan Kuai-fong and run towards the Hell Bar. A hint of surprise appeared on her face. Did you find something again? This Lin Yi, it seems that he is really good at it. At this time, Mrs. Rose was looking at a document in her hand. It was full of information about Lin Yi, and his life story was all on it. Some mysterious people, although it seems that there is nothing wrong with their life trajectory. But his power to destroy strange existences and resentful spirits has no origin or trace. The old man who taught him the Great Diamond Sutra was just an ordinary single-pass martial artist. It took him a lifetime to cultivate to the level of penetration. With this kind of power, it is impossible to destroy resentful spirits or strange existences. This person must have a different origin. Could it be those people in the intelligence? If so, that would be interesting. Mrs. Rose's beautiful face showed an inexplicable smile. as if she had seen her prey. Then let me see how you will solve this matter. Huan Yiming was already in the hell bar at this time. In just a few minutes, he brought 2 people and moved out a set of folding tables and chairs. There were also some white paper, pens, and other office supplies, and walked towards Lan Kuai-fong. 10 minutes later, in the secret room on the first floor of Lan Kuai-fong, Lin Yi threw the white paper on the table, and then began to draw all kinds of strange patterns on it. The white paper was pasted into a square that was 1 meter wide. There was a ruler on the top, and after Lin Yi carefully compared the size, he began to draw on it. With a martial arts background, the martial artist has a very precise control over his own strength and muscles. It took about 2 hours, and a huge figure covered with various patterns appeared on the white paper. Huan Yiming looked at the huge pattern and his eyebrows jumped. He felt that this thing was very similar to something he had seen in the past. When Lin Yi finished the last stroke, he nodded with satisfaction. Although it was not so smooth, he portrayed every detail of the pattern. The whole thing still looked very beautiful, and he thought a little narcissistically, maybe I have the potential to be a painter. After finishing the painting, Lin Yi looked at Huan Yiming. The pattern on each ceiling is different, and it is not easy to copy them all. Because the project is huge, I only drew the pattern on the ceiling. If you can investigate what this represents, we can solve what happened in Lan Kuai-fong. Huan Yiming nodded with a serious expression, staring at the pattern on the folding table. Lin Yi looked at the sky outside. It's almost time, let's stop here today. You should investigate the truth of this pattern as soon as possible, and then we can discuss what happened in detail. Mr. Lin, thank you for your hard work today, please take care. Waving his hand, Lin Yi left Lan Kuai-fong, and Huan Yiming and the other 2 quickly packed up the tables and chairs behind him and followed him out. Looking at the time, it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's still early, and it seems that there is nothing to do today. Then go shopping more. It seems that you need some opportunities to break through the human immortal path. Lin Yi can feel that the activity of the essence in his body is constantly increasing. From time to time, it will produce some resonance with the energy from the outside world. This resonance phenomenon has become more and more frequent in recent days, and he has a hunch that this is a sign of a breakthrough. It is already February, and Honglian City has completely recovered after the last chaos. Although there have been serial murders recently, it has not affected the entire Honglian City. Most people are still doing what they should do. Lin Yi quickly came to the intersection of Lanhua Street and waited for the red light to end with the people here. Suddenly, a shrill scream sounded. Ah! The sound quickly attracted the attention of people around. The scream attracted many people, and Lin Yi was no exception. Looking in the direction where the scream came from, there was an entrance to an alley. At this time, a fashionable girl was sitting on the ground at the entrance of the alley in fear, looking into the alley. Many people have already surrounded her. Watching the excitement is the same in any world. Humans are gossipy and have a heavy mentality. After thinking about it, Lin Yi turned and walked towards the entrance of the alley. At this time, the modern girl had stood up and retreated to the outside of the crowd, and she didn't seem to want to stay there at all. Lin Yi walked over and glanced at her with a green light in his eyes. A mature woman with 50% appearance and 60% makeup, with panic on her face that could not be concealed. But Lin Yi didn't care about these. He noticed the woman's eyebrows. A little black thread flashed away, surprising him slightly. However, Lin Yi didn't have anything to do. He ignored the girl and looked towards the alley. At first glance, he was shocked to see a female corpse with her abdomen hollowed out. The abdomen of the female corpse was cut open, and the uterus was also cut open. There was dried black blood inside. Lin Yi immediately thought of the serial murder cases he had seen on the news. And the coldness I felt here yesterday. Thinking of this, a green light flashed in his eyes, and he immediately caught some traces on the corpse. Thick resentment filled the air, emanating from the woman's broken belly. These resentments were swirling around his abdomen, and Lin Yi was certain that this resentment did not originate from this woman. It can even be said that this woman has no resentment at all and is frighteningly clean. It was like being sucked dry by something. Lin Yi's eyes showed surprise. What's going on? It's a bit strange. At this time, his eyes scanned the entire alley, and suddenly he saw a row of footprints. The black footprints formed some kind of imprint on the ground, extending deep into the alley. Red Lotus City is an ancient imperial capital, which has been like this from distant times to the present. Even in this era of advanced technology, various transformations have not changed the pattern of Honglian City much. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 103. The main houses in Honglian City are still separate courtyards, so there are many alleys between the courtyards. Most of these alleys are dark, and they were the places where many low-class people traded in the past. Even now, these alleys have been transformed to a certain extent. It is still difficult to avoid the presence of dark and low-class people. Woo woo woo. The sirens sounded, and soon 3 police cars blocked the place and pulled up yellow isolation belts. A forensic car also quickly came here and began to check. Lin Yi thought about it and was somewhat interested in this strange serial case. He seemed to smell some traces of strange existence. If so, he didn't mind cleaning up this strange existence. After all, he needed a lot of strange power to light up his lotus handprint. Maybe there are still strange things to collect, which are good things. Thinking of this, Lin Yi came to another alley on this street. The alleys here are intricate and crisscrossed, making it easy for him to detour to the back of the crime scene. Standing at the end of the alley at the crime scene, Lin Yi looked at the ground. The black mark extended to here and was spreading to an alley outside the forest. Lin Yi moved forward along the black footprints, with a green light flashing in his eyes every few seconds. Confirming the traces of the footprints, alert to unknown dangers, he soon disappeared into the depths of the alley. The sky gradually darkened, and the alley became more gloomy. A faint chill gradually permeated the alleys in this area. Lin Yi immediately noticed something unusual. What's going on? It's so cold. He immediately noticed that the alley he was in quickly became very dark, with layers of white frost covering his feet and walls. The sky was gloomy above his head, and the sky seemed to be dark and invisible. The surroundings became pitch black, and he immediately knew that it was not good. He took out the summoning picture book from his arms, and the strange child and the 2-headed dog turned into black smoke and appeared in front and behind him. Lin Yi said to the 2-headed dog, "You walk behind and protect me." He said to the strange child, "Come on my shoulders, pay attention to the front and the sky." The illusory child quickly climbed up along Lin Yi's trouser legs and sat on Lin Yi's shoulders. The 2-headed dog ran to Lin Yi's back, shaking his head and looking left and right. The 2 pairs of dog eyes with faint green light were very attractive. Lin Yi's eyes kept scanning the surroundings. I can still see things in front, but I can't see anything here. This darkness came strangely, obviously caused by some kind of power. In the darkness, we must be prepared for danger at any time, which is not good for the outside world. Retreat temporarily. By the way, lure the snake out of the hole, if this strange existence or the vengeful spirit finds me. A sneer flashed at the corner of his mouth, and Lin Yi turned and walked back the way he came. After walking a few steps, the 2-headed dog behind him suddenly made a vigilant sound. Woo woo. Lin Yi turned around and saw that a dark and unclear object appeared somewhere. The strange child on his shoulder screamed, his eyes were bloodshot, and countless smoke spikes surged out. It stabbed at the darkness all over. What was surprising was that the darkness seemed to have no reaction under the attack of countless smoke spikes. The dense spikes easily pierced it, but it seemed to have no effect. It suddenly expanded and enveloped Lin Yi with a chill. A chill rose in Lin Yi's heart, and the smell of death hit him. At this time, the two-headed dog rushed out suddenly, and the two heads opened their mouths at the same time, spitting out a ball of black flames and a ball of black ice smoke. The black flame has a strong heat, and the air seems to be ignited in an instant. And the black ice smoke is filled with coldness, and the air seems to be frozen and crackling. The two groups of power rushed into the darkness, causing the cold darkness to pause. At the same time, a piercing scream was heard, causing Lin Yi's head to ache. Without any hesitation, Lin Yi activated the Aquarius seal in the Vajra seal. His spirit was like a Aquarius, round and solid, blocking the scream that was directed at his spirit. His eyes flashed with green light, and his feet suddenly exploded, like a tiger pouncing. His whole body flashed with green light, and the Aquarius seal turned into the demon subduing seal, and a seal blasted out. The cyan gold light gathered in his right hand, and a large seal loomed and blasted into the darkness. Bang! As if thunder exploded, a cyan gold light exploded from Lin Yi's right palm, like a lotus blooming. The darkness exploded into several pieces in an instant, accompanied by a shrill scream. The shattered darkness suddenly shrank and flew away to the distance of the alley. At this time, the darkness around began to fade rapidly, revealing the dim sky. This is a normal alley. The darkness that was so dark just now was caused by the dark thing. Lin Yi frowned. What is that? Why doesn't it feel like a strange existence? It doesn't feel strange. But it doesn't seem like a simple vengeful spirit either. This world seems to be getting weirder and weirder. Being alert, Lin Yi looked at the direction where the darkness disappeared. He was thinking whether he should chase it. It's only at the first level of the human immortal path in terms of strength. With the help of the summons in the picture book, I'm not afraid. Thinking of this, his eyes flashed with green light and he followed. His eyes caught the wisps of black smoke left in the air, which were the remnants of the darkness. Lin Yi went deeper along the direction of the black fog, and after turning 7 or 8 times, he came to a pond. The pond was not big, about 100 square meters, and the pond was behind a white building. Lin Yi recognized what the building was, Honglian Gynecology Hospital. He looked at the pond, and the place where the black gas finally disappeared was in this pond. Lin Yi's eyes flashed with green light, which allowed him to see the essence through the phenomenon. If there is no obstruction, he can see a range of hundreds of meters. But if there is an obstruction, the distance will be greatly reduced. For example, now he can see about 10 meters underwater. Further deeper is pitch black, and he vaguely feels that there seems to be something in the pond. He frowned. He didn't want to go underwater. The creatures on land, even warriors, will lose most of their combat power underwater. After thinking about it, his eyes fell on his summons. But in the end, forget it, his summons are in addition to the weird child. The others seemed unsuitable to enter the pond, and although the strange child was illusory, his real fighting power was not strong. It would be useless to go down, and he might even get hurt. Suddenly, he had an idea. By the way, I am an official now, and this matter is related to the serial murder case, so I can borrow their power. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 104. Thinking of this, he smiled slightly and took out his cell phone. Beep. He quickly connected to Huang Yiming's number. Mr. Lin? What's the matter? On my way home, I encountered a serial murder case in the newspaper at the intersection of Lanhua Street. Because I was interested, I tracked the traces at the scene and fought with a mysterious force in the middle. According to my speculation, it is not a vengeful spirit, nor a strange existence. I followed the traces left by that thing and came to the back of Honglian Gynecological Hospital. There is a pond here, and I feel there is something in it. This matter should be under the management of the man in black. Can you find someone to take over? Huang Yiming understood what he said. He was also surprised that Lin Yi called not long after he left. Why? No problem, I will notify other members of the blood department to come over immediately. Mr. Lin, you probably have to wait a while. Lin Yi nodded, okay, that's no problem. After hanging up the phone, Lin Yi's eyes swept across the pond and finally fell on Honglian Gynecological Hospital. The true meaning of the Dao of life flashed in his eyes, and then he saw a lot of things. He was a little surprised. This hospital doesn't have a trace of resentment, it's strange. People often die in the hospital, it doesn't make sense that there is no resentment. Is there a problem here? Lin Yi kept scanning the hospital, looking for something wrong. 10 minutes later, a pale man in black came here with a group of more than a dozen police officers. The leading man in black saw Lin Yi and hurried over. Hello, Mr. Lin Yi, I am Li Changhe from the blood department, Huang Yiming notified me to come here. Lin Yi nodded, hello, Li Changhe, this is what happened. In a few words, Lin Yi explained everything he found. At this time, he looked at Li Changhe and said, my suggestion is that you find someone to drain the water from this pond and find out what is going on below. Secondly, you may have to go to the hospital to take a look. I feel that this incident may be related to this hospital. The deceased are all women, and their uteruses were cut open. I traced here and happened to be in this gynecological hospital. There is nothing wrong inside. I don't believe it. Li Changhe listened to Lin Yi's explanation, and his eyes showed surprise. This serial murder case was also a sensation, and they, the men in black, also received an application for assistance in the investigation. Unexpectedly, Lin Yi found a clue before they started. After Lin Yi finished his explanation, he turned around and was about to leave. Li Changhe was stunned for a moment. Mr. Lin, don't you want to join us? Lin Yi shook his head, I was interested, but now that you are here, I have nothing to do. Let's go. Lin Yi left with a sway, waved his hand casually, and said goodbye. Li Changhe opened his mouth, but didn't speak. Unless Lin Yi accepted a mission, he was completely free and could do whatever he wanted. Li Changhe thought about it and began to direct the police officers on the scene to contact the engineering personnel and seal off the scene. He looked at the sky that was about to get dark, and his face was a little uncertain. I hope there will be no problems if we dig at night. Lin Yi naturally ignored the following things and went back to the Wanchai. After dinner, he let Brandy go to bed. He returned to his room and continued to practice the Yuling Sutra and De Leva Draw Seal method. The strange existence appeared last night, and it is highly likely that it will not appear today. He also figured out some rules for the gathering of strange objects and the attraction of otherworldly existence. Once the strange existence arrives from the other world, it will stay in the place where the strange objects gather. If this strange existence is not eliminated, there is a high probability that the second strange existence will appear the next day. If it is eliminated, there may be no strange existence coming in a few days. Although it is not absolutely accurate, it is enough for Lin Yi to arrange things every night. Lin Yi released the monsters in the summoning album and let them patrol the Wanchai, and he fell into a deep state of meditation. It was already 11 o'clock in the evening. A faint green light enveloped Lin Yi, making him look as ethereal as an immortal. At this moment, 81 black smoke filaments slowly floated out of Lin Yi's hair. They quickly gathered above Lin Yi's head and formed a complex pattern. Then a strange scene appeared. An illusory palm covered with black holes stretched out from the pattern. The 5 fingers were covered with sharp nails, slowly grabbing towards Lin Yi's head. At this moment, Lin Yi suddenly opened his eyes, and his whole body burst into a cyan gold glow. A demon subduing seal had already blasted towards the top of his head. The demon subduing seal soared into the sky, bringing with it infinite power, and smashed the illusory palm that fell on the top of his head with one blow. A cyan gold seal rushed directly into the vortex formed by the strange black pattern above his head. At the same time, the black vortex above Lin Yi's head exploded, accompanied by a shrill scream. Lin Yi's eyes narrowed, looking at the faint black air above his head. The strong resentment was being dissipated by the strange space. What is this? Fortunately, this is the coverage area of the strange magic cube. Any abnormal power will be sensed by me at the first time. Otherwise, it will really succeed. But where did this ghost thing come from? With doubt in his eyes, Lin Yi carefully recalled everything that happened just now. Among the strange events I have come across recently, there are only 3 possibilities that can cause this incident. First, Lan Kuaifang; second, the Honglian Gynecological Hospital; and third, the strange existence that descended from another world. If it is an existence from another world, it is impossible for them to come directly to me. They simply cannot understand the situation here. If it is the Honglian Gynecological Hospital, it is possible. Lan Kuaifang also has problems, maybe there will be some problems with Huang Yiming. Thinking of this, Lin Yi took out his phone and dialed Huang Yiming's number. Beep beep. The phone kept ringing, but no one answered. With a thump in his heart, Lin Yi's eyes showed a trace of solemnity. Is there really something wrong with Huang Yiming? Lin Yi turned over from the bed and came to the backyard. Take out the summoning album, and 4 streams of smoke flew from everywhere and merged into the summoning album. It was already past 12 o'clock. The strange beings from the other world usually come in waves at 12 o'clock. Under normal circumstances, if they don't appear, they won't come again. Lin Yi felt relieved. After thinking for a while, he went upstairs to wake up Brandy. Dong dong dong. The knock on the door quickly woke Brandy up. Creak. Brandy looked at Lin Yi with sleepy eyes. Manager, it's so late, what's the matter? The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 105. Huff. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow diamond suit. Looking at Brandy who was huffing, Lin Yi said, put on your clothes and go to the first floor to guard. If you feel something uncontrollable or something that scares you, go out immediately, don't stay in the Wanchi room. Brandy was shocked when he heard this, and instantly thought of what happened last time. He hurried back to the bedroom, put on his clothes and followed Lin Yi to the first floor. The lights on the first floor were bright. Lin Yi stood at the door and said to Brandy, I have some things in the Wanchi room. These things will attract some strange existences. They are very dangerous, and you basically have no power to resist. If you feel danger, go out immediately, don't hesitate. This is a stack of talismans, throw them all out at the critical moment. He handed a stack of dozens of talismans to Brandy. Brandy looked at the talisman paper with a trace of fear in his eyes, but he immediately took it. Lin Yi glanced at him and said, be smart. Yes, I am a good store manager. Looking at Brandy, whose teeth were trembling, Lin Yi pursed his lips and said, don't worry, I will be back soon. But if I don't come back, I won't open the door tomorrow. Be careful. Ding-ling-ling. Lin Yi walked out with a trace of solemnity in his eyes. I hope nothing serious will happen, otherwise it will be ugly. Late at night, the whole Honglian city was dead silent, except for the prosperous Orchid Street. When Lin Yi came to Orchid Street, the road was full of various luxury sports cars, worth thousands of gold. Lin Yi was wearing a leather jacket and iron fists, which was really out of place here. There were long queues outside each bar, and the lights and wine were dazzling. There were also many girls wearing revealing clothes and handsome guys posing. There is a rotten atmosphere here, which makes people want to fall and then merge into it. Lin Yi's eyes can see countless rays of light representing emotions emanating from these people. They are entangled and repelled each other, and he can't help but feel moved. The true destiny solution seems to be able to see through everything, and it seems that even the instinctive desires of these people can be seen. It seemed that I couldn't see it before, but it is getting clearer and clearer now. Is it related to the changes in the world? Soon Lin Yi came to the door of the Hell Bar, which seemed much quieter. This is a sake bar, and people who like this tune are usually exquisite white-collar workers. Lin Yi walked in and saw about a dozen people. In the slightly dim light, they were either playing with their mobile phones or thinking. Most of them were dressed in literary and artistic clothes, and they looked like cultural people. Lin Yi's unusual dress naturally attracted their attention. Several women among them looked him up and down. Lin Yi didn't care about these eyes, and his eyes fell on Li Changfang. Seeing Lin Yi coming late at night, Li Changfang's pupils shrank, and she knew something must have happened. She nodded to Lin Yi and asked him to follow her. Lin Yi didn't say anything and walked towards the corridor next to Li Changfang's bar. He lifted the curtain, entered, and soon reached the end. Li Changfang followed from behind. "Mr. Lin, you came so late, did something happen?" Lin Yi turned to look at Li Changfang. "Where is Huang Yiming?" Li Changfang was instantly alert. "Something happened. I encountered an unknown attack. When I called to ask if Huang Yiming encountered the same attack, he didn't reply to me. So he might have something wrong." Li Changfang's face changed, and he immediately pointed to the staircase leading up at the end of the corridor. "He lives on the second floor, and there are independent rooms everywhere, no 207. As he said that, Lin Yi and Li Changfang quickly walked towards the second floor. Dong dong dong. The footsteps were fast and urgent, and instantly startled the people in other rooms upstairs. Entering the second floor, several heads popped out of their rooms, looking at Lin Yi and Li Changfang who appeared there. What happened to Li Changfang? She looks so anxious. Li Changfang looked at them, but her pupils shrank. Huang Yiming was not among them. Either he fell asleep or something happened. Now it seems that something happened. Li Changfang did not answer these people and walked straight to room 207. Bang bang bang. "Huang Yiming, wake up, Huang Yiming, open the door quickly." Li Changfang knocked on the door vigorously. Lin Yi looked at the anxious Li Changfang and said in a concentrated voice, "Break it open." Li Changfang paused, then punched the door lock. Bang. With a muffled sound, the door opened. Huang Yiming fell to the ground with a pale face, his eyes staring straight at the direction of the door. Lin Yi looked at him, and there was a lack of light belonging to emotions and consciousness in his body. Li Changfang saw Huang Yiming lying on the ground. His face changed drastically. "Huang Yiming." He rushed over instantly, and at this time, several people came in one after another. Each of them was filled with the aura of martial arts, and Lin Yi raised his eyebrows. It was obvious that these people were all affiliated with the blood department. At this time, Lin Yi's eyes fell on the table in Huang Yiming's room. There were the patterns he drew, and a few things that looked like ancient books and reports. Li Changfang lifted Huang Yiming's head and reached out to check his breathing. Feeling the slightest breath, she relaxed slightly. But his expression was not relaxed, and he turned to look at Lin Yi. "Mr. Lin, what on earth is going on?" Li Changfang's tone was full of seriousness and anxiety, and his face was solemn as never before. She looked at Lin Yi, needing an explanation. Lin Yi did not answer her, but walked to Huang Yiming's desktop, picked up a stack of reports and flipped through them. The content of the report fell into his eyes, making him raise his eyebrows. The formation? It is suspected to be the legendary formation, the 100 Life Corpse Immortal Formation. His eyes fell on several ancient books below, and one of them, Strange Stories, caught his eye. Lin Yi opened the ancient book with a look of surprise on his face. There was a page of bookmarks in this ancient book. When he opened it, he happened to find a miniature version of the pattern on this page. The content of the pattern is very similar to the pattern I drew. Li Changfang saw Lin Yi's focus on Huang Yiming's desk and knew what Lin Yi might have discovered. She could only endure her anxiety and look at Lin Yi quietly. There were 6 people in the room at this time, including Lin Yi and the unconscious Huang Yiming. The other 4 people looked at Lin Yi intently, waiting for him to speak. Hua hua hua. The sound of Lin Yi turning the pages of ancient books continued to sound, about 10 minutes later. After reading the ancient books and the report in his hand, he fell into deep thought. At this time, Li Changfang seemed to be unable to bear it any longer. Mr. Lin, can you tell us what's going on? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 106. Huang Yiming has fainted now. Has he encountered any danger? Can he wake up? Lin Yi's eyes condensed, looking at Li Changfang and the others and said, the situation is very complicated now. The reason why he fainted is very simple. He is the last sacrifice of the 100 Life Corpse Immortal Formation. Remember the domain name of this site, Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. The 100 Life Corpse Immortal Formation? What is that? Li Changfang looked puzzled. I don't have time to tell you in detail. We must go to Lan Kuaifang immediately. Destroy the formation, otherwise it will be completely activated at 3 o'clock this morning. Something bad will happen at that time. Now I need 4 people to help me. Can you come to help? Li Changfang's face changed when he heard this, and then he said, we are all together. This matter is under the jurisdiction of our blood department. If something goes wrong, no one can escape. Lin Yi looked at his watch, time is running out. Let's hurry up, otherwise Huang Yiming will not be saved. Take his body with you. As he said, Lin Yi took the ancient books and reports and walked straight outside. Li Changfang said, everyone, go get your weapons and follow me immediately. As he said, Li Changfang had already followed Lin Yi with Huang Yiming's body on his back. The other few people didn't say anything and went back to their rooms to get things. These 3 people are other members of the blood department, Qianbei, Huafeng, and Tang Chun. Usually, members of the blood department will return to the dormitory of the Hell Bar to rest at night so that they can be ready to deal with dangerous things at any time. Lin Yi stood outside the door, and only 3 minutes later, 4 figures had arrived in front of him. The fully armed members of the blood tribe were all wearing combat uniforms and carrying their own weapons. Let's talk while we walk. He walked towards Lan Kuaifang first, answering their questions as he walked. I'll make it short. The Lan Kuaifang incident was a conspiracy, and the mastermind was a certain Red Lotus Mara from the previous dynasty. This person set up the 100 Life Corpse Immortal Formation in the mansion. This formation is to devour a large number of living people as sacrifices. To make your spirit become a more powerful existence, so that it can stay in the real world. This transformed existence is called Corpse Immortal. According to this ancient book, Corpse Immortal has the original wisdom, spirit, and memory. At the same time, it has a terrifying power that can rival the human immortal, and it is immortal. Of course it is another kind of inhuman immortality. Li Changfang and others were stunned when they heard this. They had never heard of such a fantasy thing. Li Changfang was full of doubt, isn't this a plot that only exists in vernacular novels? It must be fake. No doubt, this is what I saw in the ancient books and reports in Huang Yiming's hands. As he spoke, he shook the reports and ancient books in his hands. This formation is real. But this formation has a huge flaw. Once the transformation is completed, It is necessary to raise the corpse in the spiritual world formed by the formation for 100 years, and then sacrifice a large number of lives to completely become a corpse fairy. And to activate the final sacrifice, a special sacrifice is needed. This sacrifice must go through the entire formation and be contaminated with the breath of every node of the formation before the formation can finally be activated. The last fire in Lan Kwai Fong was caused by the red lotus Moruo in the formation. Those people have become his sacrifices, including those who disappeared later. Hearing Lin Yi's explanation, everyone's face changed drastically. How could they be opponents of the terrifying existence that can match the human immortal way? Li Changfang looked grim, but if it's like you said, it's useless for us to go there. Lin Yi walked quickly, his expression unchanged. It doesn't matter, the formation hasn't started yet, and the corpse fairy hasn't completed the transformation. It's just the combat power of an ordinary person at the peak of the first level of the immortal path, and it can't get rid of the formation and exist independently. Our goal is to directly destroy all the formations. It will definitely not be able to bear it and will pull us into the spirit world space. The spirit world space is a strange place, where there are 4 formation eyes. The purpose of finding you is to let you destroy the 4 formation eyes. I will find a way to delay the corpse fairy's body, as long as you can destroy the formation eye. Once the formation is broken, the corpse fairy will fail to transform and will be backfired by countless sacrifices on the spot. Li Changfang and others were relieved when they heard this. At least they were not sending themselves to death. There was a solution. However, Li Changfang was a little confused. Mr. Lin, how do you know so much? Is it all recorded in the report and ancient books? Lin Yi nodded. Yes, it is indeed the solution written in the report. There is a master among you black-clothed people. The faces of several people were nervous and they moved quickly, attracting the attention of some young people who were looking for fun on Lotus Street. Some of them were not small. Seeing Li Changfang and his friends who were dressed in black all their lives, they immediately realized what might have happened. Some people were pointing at them and whispering. Look at them, they are dressed so strangely and holding weapons. A girl with heavy makeup and a look of a girl said to a handsome boy next to him. The two snuggled together and looked very ambiguous. The handsome boy looked at Lin Yi and his group with a hint of interest in his eyes. Are you interested in going to see what they want to do? I know those men in black. They are specialized in dealing with strange events. Hearing what the handsome boy said, the girl immediately became interested. Several friends beside them also showed great interest. Let's go and follow them to see. Forget it. If you get involved, you will die. A woman who looked a little pure said. The girl seemed to be somewhat hostile to the woman. Fang Fi Fei, you are too timid. What are you afraid of with Brother Wang here? Brother Wang is a martial arts master. What dares to show up? Just beat it to death, right, Brother Wang, the little girl said, looking at Brother Wang next to her with admiration. Brother Wang laughed. Fi Fei, don't worry. I can still protect you with my means. And we are just watching the excitement from a distance, we won't get close. As he said that, Brother Wang had already hugged the little girl's waist. Let's go. The little girl's eyes were full of stars, and she threw herself on Brother Wang. And his other friends also followed her. Fang Fi Fei, who was wearing a black dress and had a cool and pure temperament, could only follow helplessly. Lin Yi and others naturally did not notice these people, they walked very fast. A few minutes later, they arrived in front of Lan Kwai Fong. Lin Yi's eyes flashed with green light, and he was shocked when he looked at Lan Kwai Fong. The extremely strong resentment enveloped Lan Kwai Fong, and it seemed as if it had become another world. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 107. Lin Yi frowned. Be careful, the situation inside has changed. When will support arrive? Li Changfang said, it will take at least 10 minutes before a large number of police officers on duty arrive. Okay, put Huang Yiming's body at the door. Just inform the person who comes and protect his body. If the rescue is successful, we can wake him up as soon as possible. Li Changfang was a little worried, but still followed Lin Yi's words and placed Huang Yiming's body at the door and leaned against the doorframe. Let's go. With that said, Lin Yi stepped into the gate of Lan Kuai-fong. A cold breath filled the air from all around. He felt as if he had entered an ice cave, and his breath turned into white mist. After Li Changfang and the other four followed in, their expressions changed when they felt the biting chill. It's so cold. Is this resentment? Li Changfang seemed to be keenly aware of what this chill was about. A faint white light lit up around her. By circulating her energy, she became like a silver god. The other three Blood Club members, Qian Bai, Hua Feng, and Tang Chun, also used their own techniques to resist the cold. Qian Bai's body was filled with green light, Hua Feng's body was covered with blue light, and Tang Chun was covered in red light with a burning aura. Just listen to Li Changfang say, "Mr. Lin, you'd better start the technique quickly. If a living person stays in a place where resentment gathers for a long time, resentment will enter the body and the energy and blood will be lost." Lin Yi waved his hand, "Don't worry about me, just take care of yourselves. Come with me now." A group of 5 people quickly arrived at the dance floor of Lan Kuai-fong Hall. Lin Yi glanced across the hall and said to the 4 of them, "You guys first destroy the ceilings of the 2 rows of rooms on the left and right. The formation of the 100 Lives Corpse Immortal formation is right there. Remember, when destroying, you must use essence flushing to break through the resentment formation. Otherwise, simply destroying the ceiling is useless. As long as a certain number of nodes are destroyed, this formation will naturally be destroyed. Remember, the speed must be fast. If the red lotus Moro in the formation reacts, we will be pulled into the spirit world. At that time, we will face a real hard battle. Only by destroying the formation in the spiritual world of time and space will the difficulty increase." At this time, outside the gate, 5 young men and women headed by Brother Wang came here. I heard one of the men say in surprise, "Is this Lan Kuai-fong? I heard that young Master Zhang of the Zhang family disappeared inside a few days ago. Are they here to deal with that matter?" The man looked surprised and a little scared. They all know about Lan Kuai-fong, the largest high-end club on Orchid Street. It disappeared overnight and hundreds of people died, which can be said to have shocked the entire Honglian city. The little girl on the side was obviously a little scared, and she also knew about Mr. Zhang. Even her family couldn't afford to offend a truly important person. You can't even find such a person in Lan Kuai-fong, which shows the danger here. "Brother Wang, let's not go in. It's too dangerous here," the little girl said with a hint of fear on her face. Fang Fifei on the side also looked worried and said, "Yes, it's too dangerous here, Brother Wang." A tall and thin man on the side laughed and said, "What are you afraid of? There are other people in black inside. They specialize in handling these matters, so we can just watch the fun on the side. Brother Wang, aren't you afraid anymore?" The tall and thin man had a proud smile on his face. He had never been convinced by Wang Dong'ai. This time I seized the opportunity and wanted to show my strength in front of the 2 girls and suppress Wang Dong'ai. When Wang Dong heard this, he glanced at the tall and thin man and said, "Li Fipeng, what am I afraid of?" But it's normal for the 2 girls, Fifei and Xiao Yan, to be a little scared. How about the 2 of us go in to see the situation and explore the way for them? Li Fipeng smiled proudly when he heard this. "That's no problem, let's go." As he spoke, Wang Dong'ai's lips showed the same arrogance, and he stepped into the door. Li Fipeng followed, and Fang Fifei and Xiao Yan behind them looked at them with worried faces. The last man among the 5 knew that the 2 of them were at odds, but he didn't say anything. At this time, Fang Fi Fe, I noticed Huang Yiming leaning on the threshold. She said in a worried voice, this is the one among the group of people just now who was carried behind by a woman. Why was he put here? Xiao Yan on the side glanced at her impatiently, why do you care so much? It has nothing to do with us anyway. We. The sound of police cars sounded from a distance, and the expressions of Fang Fi Fei and the other three people changed, and they quickly retreated a few meters away from the entrance of Lan Kuai-fang. They didn't want to be questioned by the police, so it was best to stay away. Looking at the police car driving on the street in the distance, the three of them were slightly relieved. The police are here, so at least there should be no problem with safety. Wang Dong'ai and Li Fipeng were walking in the corridor leading to the dance floor of the hall. They didn't notice that faint shadows were floating on the scorched black land outside the corridor. They were staring at the two of them, expressionless, illusory and hazy, shrouded in black resentment. In the corridor, Li Fipeng's whole body shone with a powerful aura, which at least reached the body level. Wang Dong'ai on the side was also similar. They naturally also noticed the coldness and something wrong here. At this time, in the hall, Li Changfang and others had already come to the rooms on both sides of the corridor on the first floor. As long as Lin Yi's order came, they would immediately take action and destroy the ceiling above their heads. Standing on the dance floor, Lin Yi's voice burst out and resounded throughout the mansion, do it. Li Changfang and the other four people's vitality flowed through their bodies, and each of them used their weapons to blast towards the ceiling. The terrifying power was like four cannons that shot into the sky, suddenly smashing towards the ceiling. They moved quickly, from hearing the order to taking action, it was only less than a second. But at this moment, the mansion seemed to solidify. An unimaginable cold breath expanded and contracted in an instant. Then Lin Yi and the other five, including Wang Dong'ai and Li Fipeng who were still moving forward in the corridor, felt a flash in front of their eyes. When they came to their senses again, they found a strange scene. The surroundings were brightly lit, and the lights of the club faintly rang in their ears. Lin Yi looked around and found himself in a dance floor, surrounded by men and women twisting their bodies. They were venting their emotions to each other and dancing wildly in the dance floor. The men were handsome and the women were beautiful. This was a place where youth and sin gathered. The neon lights kept flashing, making the light of the dance floor unpredictable and dim. The shouts and excited calls of the crowd in the dance floor made the place filled with a sense of falling. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 108. Looking at the people around him, Lin Yi felt a chill in his heart. The true meaning of fate in his eyes allowed him to see the true faces of these people clearly. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. Those were twisted faces, with dry bodies covered with various burns. They twisted madly here, where were the lights and music? This was a space filled with resentment. Everything was an illusion, and only Lin Yi could see the truth of this illusion. In his eyes, this place was like a living hell, with demons dancing wildly. His heart moved. I don't know what happened to Li Changfang and the others. Lin Yi remained calm, with a puzzled look on his face, showing an expression that seemed to be confused by the strange scene here. In fact, he quickly approached Li Changfang's position. Li Changfang was arranged by him to go to the first room in the corridor on the left. His figure walked past these strange and dry human figures, maintaining the highest vigilance. As long as there is any disturbance, he can attack and hurt people. He was wary of every charred human figure or vengeful spirit around him. Li Changfang was confused at this time, and had no idea what was going on. She had just launched an attack to smash the ceiling. But in the blink of an eye, she found herself falling to the ground. The surroundings became extremely strange. She was still in the original room, but at this time there was a man and a woman flirting here. They looked at Li Changfang in confusion, and the woman screamed, "What are you doing?" The man also looked at Li Changfang with anger. Get out of here. This is the room I booked. Li Changfang frowned when she heard it, but she did not quarrel with the two. Instead, she opened the door and walked out. She already had an idea in her mind at this time. Is this the spiritual world formed by the 100 life corpse immortal formation? Standing in the corridor, there were also many men and women outside, chatting with each other, or flirting. After Li Changfang walked out, he looked outside the corridor window. The central garden was pitch black, and nothing could be seen. Li Changfang's heart sank when he saw this scene. At this time, a familiar voice sounded, Li Changfang, you are here too. Turning around, it was Tang Chun, who was responsible for breaking the formation in the room on the left corridor with him. Let's go find other people, don't say anything. Tang Chun nodded, with a hint of coldness in his eyes. He naturally thought of where this place was, and it was the best strategy to stay put and gather everyone. Mr. Lin is on the dance floor, let's go find him first. The two came to the end of the corridor room, and the dance floor was in sight. At a glance, they saw Lin Yi walking towards here. Although the lights here were dim and the music was deafening, Lin Yi's dress was too conspicuous. Lin Yi saw Li Changfang and the others, and raised his hand to tell them not to move. Li Changfang and Tang Chun stopped and watched Lin Yi walk towards them. The three of them gathered together, and Lin Yi looked at them and said, this should be the spirit world. We have to find the other two immediately. Otherwise, the situation may be bad. Changes have already begun. Li Changfang and Tang Chun were stunned when they heard this, and then they felt something unusual. More and more people around them set their eyes on the three of them. There was a dark emotion in the eyes of these people. Despair, fear, anger, countless negative emotions were churning in their eyes. Lin Yi whispered, follow me, fast. He turned and walked towards the dance floor. He wanted to enter the corridor room on the right through here. That's where Qianbei and Huafeng were. At this time, Qianbei and Huafeng just walked out of the opposite corridor. Seeing Lin Yi and the other two walking towards them, they were also happy and walked towards the dance floor. The five people moved towards one position, and the dance floor quickly became dim. The gloomy wind was miserable, and an inexplicable green dark light enveloped the place. These people who were just watching them started to move, as if the five people's gathering stimulated them. They rushed towards Lin Yi and the other five frantically, and their appearance also revealed their original form at this time. They were like horrible zombies with dry bodies and countless burnt smells. Faces without skin, exposed teeth, and dry fingers grabbed at them. Lin Yi shouted, attack! Boom! As if thunder and lightning had struck the earth, his whole body turned into cyan and gold in an instant. He punched a person in the chest who was rushing towards him head-on. The huge force pierced the human-shaped charred corpse like ghost. The huge inertia made it retreat rapidly and hit the ghosts behind it. Lin Yi shouted in a low voice, pay attention, these guys are all entities in the spirit world. They are all vengeful spirits formed by the resentment of the people who were burned to death in the fire. Pay attention to saving strength, we must quickly reunite and find the location of the array. Roar! These vengeful spirits who were burned to death were all irrational, just venting their anger, despair, and roaring crazily. The charred corpses that were knocked away by Lin Yi opened up an empty route for him. He stepped suddenly and formed a Vajra seal in his hand. He seemed to have turned into a Vajra Buddha and rushed forward. In a flash, he crossed the 5 or 6 meter route and crashed into the group of charred corpses and resentful spirits. The power of the other Spirit Sutra has a huge killing power on these resentful spirits. Once they are hit by Lin Yi, they will collapse with black smoke all over their bodies. Behind him, Li Changfang and Tang Chun, each holding a weapon, followed Lin Yi closely and helped him sweep away the charred corpses on both sides. Li Changfang held a 2-finger-wide, 3-foot-long sword in his hand. The sword body was a faint orchid color, not made of ordinary metal, and she injected her essence. The sword became a hazy color, and the sword light was swung, easily splitting the charred corpses that rushed over. Tang Chun, who was on the side, held a machete in his hand, with a pitch-black blade, and a heavy breath came to his face. Any charred corpse that was chopped would be directly split in half. The two followed Lin Yi closely, and the three of them almost crushed the charred corpses and resentful spirits that blocked the road. The broken limbs of the charred corpses flew everywhere, leaving behind a field of still crawling debris. Qianbei and Huafeng on the opposite side were not slow at all, like two whirlwinds, clearing the charred corpses around. In just a few dozen seconds, the 5 people gathered together, and the hundreds of charred corpses around had been cleared by them. Li Changfang said at this time, "Mr. Lin, what should we do next?" Lin Yi's eyes flashed with green light, looking at every corner of the mansion. At this time, countless black auras filled this strange spiritual world in his eyes. Soon he found 5 huge energy fluctuations, and a hint of joy appeared in his eyes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 109. Got it, Li Changfang, go to the middle room on the left side of the second floor, where there is a formation I. Qianbei, go to the central garden on the first floor, where there is a formation I, be sure to destroy it. Tang Chun, go to the corridor outside, there is an open eye at the gate. Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow dot. Huafeng, go to the last secret room on the third floor, where there is a formation I. I'll go to the rooftop, where Honglian Moro is, I'll hold him back. You move fast, after all, you are a person who can rival the peak of the first level of the human immortal path, I'm not sure how long I can hold him back. Li Changfang and the others all looked serious when they heard this, understood. Lin Yi nodded, and the faces of the others suddenly changed again. The charred corpses and ghosts on the ground that were split and destroyed by them were recovering rapidly. Their separated bodies approached rapidly under the influence of an invisible force. In just a few seconds, hundreds of strange charred corpses and ghosts appeared again. Their eyes were filled with hatred and despair, looking at Lin Yi and others. Lin Yi could see clearly that countless black air filled the surroundings and rushed into these broken limbs and debris to repair their bodies. Quick battle, these things can't be killed in this spiritual world. Destroying the center of the formation is the first priority. Charge. With Lin Yi's roar, he rushed to the stairs in an instant. Huafeng and Li Changfang also quickly followed Lin Yi and rushed to the second and third floors. At this time, there was also a black mass of charred corpses and ghosts rushing towards them on the stairs. They opened their rotten mouths and waved their dry arms, trying to tear them apart. The spiritual world was filled with a pale green light, and the cold wind was even more fierce, blowing with a whistling sound. The cold was pervasive, and everyone felt their physical strength was fading. No one noticed that it was already 2:40 in the morning. There are still 20 minutes before the formation will completely start the final transformation. 5 figures rushed towards their respective targets at an astonishing speed. The fastest one was Qianbei, who directly broke the glass French window at the end of the dance floor and rushed into the garden. The garden was very large, covering hundreds of square meters, and all kinds of strange plants were growing in it at this time. In the center of the garden, a strange big tree was very conspicuous. Needless to say, it was the center of the formation. Qianbei held a pure white narrow and sharp blade in his hand, and his body slightly bent, and he rushed to the center of the garden quickly. The strange plants around seemed to be stimulated, and suddenly all kinds of vines grew, covering Qianbei. From all directions, he was almost drowned. When the crisis came, Qianbei's face condensed, he took a deep breath, and the knife light was sheathed. At the moment when countless vines descended and covered him, a gorgeous pure white storm exploded. With him as the center, the arc of knife light covering a radius of 2 meters flashed by. No vine could resist the knife, and all were cut off instantly. At the same time, Qianbei and the knife light merged into one, like a stream of light, and the speed suddenly doubled, crossing a distance of 10 meters. Piercing through all the vine's interception, he stood in front of a huge locust tree, which was the center of the garden. At this time, the locust tree was full of human faces, they opened their mouths and wailed in pain. A circle of sound waves enveloped Qianbei, causing him to have a severe pain in his head. Ah! The painful sound burst out from his mouth, and his whole body was shaking. He was in danger. On the other side, Tang Chun rushed out of the gate with a black machete in his hand, and there was no enemy. But at this time he stopped on the corridor leading to the gate of Lan Kuai-Fong, but his eyes shrank slightly. Two figures stood there, they were filled with black air, and looked at him with lifeless eyes. Looking at these two people, Qianbei was stunned, because he knew both of them. One is Wang Dong'ai, the other is Li Fitang, both are descendants of two upper-class figures in Honglian City. They are only slightly lower in status than the big man who was trapped here last time. His face suddenly turned ashen. Damn, these guys are really not afraid of death. These two people were obviously in trouble and were controlled by the vengeful spirits here. His eyes passed through the two people and saw the location of the gate, which was a gate covered with strange human limbs. Countless limbs seemed to be embedded in the gate, which was creepy to look at. Tang Chun immediately knew that it was his goal. Break the eye of the formation first, then save these two guys. He rushed out with a pursed mouth. The energy in his body circulated, improving his physical fitness to the extreme. When he was 1 meter in front of Wang Dong'ai and the other two, he stomped on the ground. He jumped up, like a big rock about to pass over the two people. But at this time, the two people who had been stiff and motionless suddenly moved. Wang Dong'ai and Li Fipeng rushed towards Tang Chun as if they were risking their lives. Tang Chun's face changed slightly in mid-air, and his legs suddenly blasted out. He didn't dare to use all his strength. He could feel the fluctuations of life in the two people's bodies, and they were obviously not dead yet. If he used too much force, even if he solved the crisis here, he would be in great trouble. In this move, he only used 50% of his strength. Bump! A huge force exploded between them, and Wang Dong'ai and Li Fipeng were hit hard, and their bodies suddenly paused. Tang Chun was also shocked in mid-air. The controlled Wang Dong'ai and Li Fipeng were very powerful. Looking vaguely, it can be seen that the arms of the two people have signs of fractures in the collision just now. But there is no pain on their faces, only unconscious dullness. Tang Chun's body took advantage of the collision just now and crashed into the ceiling of the corridor. He turned his body, and his legs stepped on the crossbeam of the ceiling with the power of flying. He suddenly exerted force and pounced on the gate like an eagle, with an amazing speed. But at this time, countless arms on the gate suddenly moved. Those arms were gray and black, and a rotten smell came to his face. Tang Chun's stomach rolled, and he felt like he wanted to vomit. The machete in his hand was slashed in the air, and the power of essence covered it. Let the knife light shine brightly, and 9 knife lights were transformed to cover the arms on the gate that grabbed him. Ka-ka-ka. The chopping sound was a piece, and those arms were very hard, like stones. The knife light only cut off a dozen arms and then it was gone. Tang Chun fell to the ground in the corridor under the huge recoil force and could not move forward. 2 strong winds rushed from behind, making his face change slightly. He turned around and slashed with a knife, but Tang Chun used the back of the knife. Bang bang. 2 muffled sounds, 2 figures were repelled by him. Wang Dong'ai and Li Fiteng had no expression on their faces, but a horizontal bruise appeared on their chests. Seeing this scene, Tang Chun looked ugly. Damn, these two people are too weak. On the door behind him, Countless arms continued to grab Tang Chun. Wang Dongai and the other man climbed up from the ground and rushed up again, making Tang Chun look even uglier. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 110. Li Chengfang on the second floor also encountered a problem. When she came to the room designated by Lin Yi, she saw a scene that made her angry and surprised. A small hill made of countless bodies appeared in her eyes. What surprised her at the same time was that Huang Yiming was actually in this room. However, Huang Yiming's eyes were dark at this time, and he was surrounded by black air. All the black air came from the small hill made of a pile of bodies behind him. Damn it, how dare you! Huang Yiming was obviously controlled, which made her angry. Anger attacked her heart, and the sword in Li Chenfang's hand flashed. With a fierce murderous intent, he chopped down at the center of the formation where the bodies were piled up. But at this time Huang Yiming came up and waved his hands. His 5 fingers were as black iron, grabbing him. Whoosh! Huang Yiming practiced hand skills, and his 5 fingers came out together, which was very dangerous. Li Chenfang's face changed, the sword light turned, and suddenly bounced and hit the 5 fingers. When the metallic collision sound made her heart sink. Huang Yiming's fighting power was not weaker than hers. The sword light and claw shadows kept flying in this room, and the 2 figures crisscrossed. The more Li Chengfang fought, the more shocked she was. Huang Yiming was obviously controlled by some kind of power at this time. The opponent's fighting power did not weaken at all, and was even stronger. This was very terrifying, and she was completely trapped in a bitter battle. Hua Feng on the 3rd floor also had an ugly face. In the last secret room here, it was a monster made up of countless legs, and it could even move. The moment he saw Hua Feng, he launched a fierce attack. The body made up of hundreds of legs and feet had almost no dead angles. These legs could also continue to extend. Wherever they were hit, the wall would be penetrated, and the power was huge. At this time, Lin Yi ignored them and rushed directly along the stairs to the top of the stairs. Where is the door leading to the rooftop? When he came to the door, he felt a terrifying breath approaching the stairs. Without any hesitation, he directly released the 4 summons in his album. The first to attack was the purple corpse monster. Its body was as solid as steel, with terrifying strength and strong regeneration ability. Except for its slightly slower speed, it was simply a killing machine. The huge purple fist blasted towards the gate. Crack! The gate was instantly hit open by a huge force. At the same time, the fist broke the gate and hit something. Bang! With a muffled sound, the object flew backwards. At this time, Lin Yi and his 4 summons all rushed out of the gate. Everything he saw shocked Lin Yi's heart. The rooftop was covered with countless dry bones. In the middle, a throne made entirely of skeletons stood there. A man wearing a former noble jacket fell in front of the throne. His face was half sunken, and he was looking at them with an angry look. You deserve to die. A terrifying black yin energy burst out from its body. Then the sunken part of his face recovered quickly, and his body began to swell. The jacket quickly broke apart during the expansion, and it was covered with strange bumps. The huge black body was exposed to Lin Yi's eyes. In less than a few seconds, he had swelled into a monster more than 3 meters tall. His whole body was covered with black bumps of flesh, and his eyes were pitch black. The fangs on his face were ferocious, and a cold and cruel emotion permeated his body. Damn guys, dare to destroy my big thing, go to hell. Lin Yi looked at this scene, but his face changed. The breath emitted by the other party was too terrifying. It was the only one he had ever seen in his life, which made him hairy all over. Without any hesitation, he shouted, "Come on." The purple corpse monster was the strongest melee ability on his side. With an order, he had already rushed up first, and his hands were like violent raindrops to bombard the black monster in front of him. This monster was the body of Honglian Moro. He saw the attacking purple corpse monster and his eyes showed coldness. A fist as big as a human head blasted towards the purple corpse monster. Both sides were pure hand-to-hand combat, without any fancy moves. Boom boom. A series of muffled sounds exploded, and the purple corpse monster's body shook violently, and it retreated 10 steps. The Red Lotus Moruo only shook his body and retreated half a step. Purely the strength was the difference, and the purple corpse monster was no match. At this time, the two-headed dog had already seen the opportunity, and the two had suddenly spurted out a piece of black fire and black ice, covering the Red Lotus Moruo. Facing the sneak attack of the two-headed dog, the Red Lotus Moruo opened his mouth and spurted out a dark green smoke. This smoke seemed to have spirituality, turning into a wall, blocking the black fire and poisonous smoke. Zzz. The black fire, poisonous smoke, and dark green smoke wall collided, making a harsh burning and corrosive sound. But the result shocked Lin Yi. The black fire and black ice of the two-headed dog could not break through the interception of the dark green smoke. The bad doctor on the side was emitting wisps of poisonous smoke all over his body, which spread to the entire rooftop. All tangible substances will be corroded by this poisonous smoke. But the dark green smoke seemed to sense the danger and turned into a ball, covering Honglian Moro. At the same time, Honglian Moro suddenly stomped on the ground and pounced towards Lin Yi fiercely. Let the thief capture the leader first. It seems that he saw that Lin Yi was the core of this group of monsters. Lin Yi was also shocked. He didn't expect that this seemed to be the existence of Honglian Moro, which was so powerful. He could also control a group of things that seemed to be treasures in myths and legends. Resist the strange power attacks from the two-headed dog and the bad doctor. The opponent was wrapped in a ball of green smoke and pounced on him. Lin Yi's face condensed, and the light of the true destiny flashed in his eyes. The next moment, a blue-gold light flashed around him, and a speed seal was formed with his left hand. In an instant, his legs flashed with golden light, making his legs look like golden light bulbs. He flashed horizontally, leaving a residual image, and the next moment he was behind the purple corpse monster. At this time, Honglian Moro was wrapped in black smoke and fell to the position where Lin Yi was just now. The opponent's claws swung in the air, bringing a violent tearing sound in the air. Lin Yi's mind connected with the four summons, and seeing the opportunity, he shouted, "All attack!" The purple corpse monster had a ferocious face, and its body was like a tyrannosaurus, rushing towards Honglian Moro. The fist as big as a bowl brought infinite power to blast down. The countless poisonous smoke of the bad doctor trembled wildly, turning into a huge human face, biting towards Honglian Moro shrouded in green mist. The two-headed dog suddenly spewed out black fire and black ice from behind Honglian Moro, and the power of ice and fire surged wildly. It almost turned into a vortex of ice and fire, blasting towards the dark green smoke around Honglian Moro.